Today, we're just finishing up on fixing this rental house up, and so I'm out just watering the grass and watching the birds take a bath in it. The robins sure love the freshwater grass. They hop around out here and catch worms. The sprinkler attracts a variety of birds. They come here to catch the worms that the sprinklers got them to come to the surface, and also it's very dry around this year, and so all the birds seem to want to come and take a bath under the sprinkler. This scrub jay must be real dirty because he spent plenty of time under the sprinkler just to get his feathers wet and take a bath. There's not really any other source of water around that these birds can bathe in, so the sprinkler's very, very popular. Even a little squirrel had to come and see what the birds were making such a fuss over. There are probably more robins come to use the sprinkler and gather worms under it than any other bird. We've given the birds enough baths and we have everything under control here. So we're going to take the day off and drive through the Willamette Valley over to the little town of Dayton to see an old fort there. We'll back out the driveway and set a course for the Willamette River. We will go down and hit the main highway and go past the historical old St. Louis Church. That was the second church west of the Mississippi River. The first building that we passed, the white-colored building, was the old hall, which they rent out for different occasions. And 60 years ago, Marge and myself, our wedding reception was held in this very building. We traveled through the very fertile Willamette valleys and take a look at some of the crops, always with trees in the background. What a green place. The hop harvest is going on now full bore. We see truckloads of hops go past our place numerous times every day. I didn't realize there was so much beer being made, but this is one of the best places to grow hops. Marge was raised here in the valley, so she remembers picking hops by hand. But now they do no more hand picking of hops. It's all done with machines. The hazelnuts are probably the most abundant of the new crops in the Willamette Valley. We see just acre after acre of them. We're now dropping down into the lowest part of the valley, almost at river level, and so we'll wind through some more crops, and pretty soon we'll be to the Willamette River. Through a forest of cottonwood, and we see some cars parked ahead, and that's the Willamette River. It's a nice sunny day, so people are here enjoying the river, swimming, and just sitting around the river banks. But we're not going to have time for that. We're going to take the ferry, one of 3 ferries still left on the Willamette River. In pioneer days, there were lots of ferries cross the river before bridges were built here. We've hit it just right. The ferry's almost to dock here, so we'll wait till they get docked and wait our turn and drive on the ferry and pay our $3 to cross the ferry. It costs more for larger vehicles, but we just have the pickup, so it's only $2. And if you want to park and walk down there, the ride across and back is free as long as you're on foot. If you're just passing through, the ride across on foot is very nice. You can experience the Willamette River firsthand by doing this. When Marge was growing up, she used to cross this ferry every single day about and come back that evening. And at that time, it was free, where it isn't now. But they were picking fruit and berries and beans especially across the river. So they would take the ferry across and then come back that evening to their home. We're now on the west side of the Willamette River, going through the Willamette Valley, and we see there's not a whole lot of difference in the crops over here as there is on the east side.
Or some more hazelnut trees. This must be a nursery. Dayton, 9 miles.
Up the bank on the other side, and our journey will continue. This is strictly in cropland now, where it used to be dairy farms. We can see evidence of the old dairy farms.
And some more of those darn hazelnuts. Baby ones. Lots of them. Wow.
After crossing the Willamette River, we find the crops are more or less the same over
Bob's
on this
Grand
side
Island.
as on the
Tertiary
other
and
side.
Deli.
We're on the west side.
This is
of
a
the
holiday and they're
Willamette
closed
River.
today.
Is that the way to Grand Island?
Welcome to Grand Island. Here's the bridge.
You used to go swimming under this bridge?
Yep.
Get a picture of the river and say you used to go swimming.
This is the Grand Island Bridge, where we used to go swimming.
Pole beans used to be a big crop here, and they had to be picked by hand, and that's where Marge and her sister would work, picking these pole beans. Where now they don't have very many pole beans anyplace, and it's more bush beans which are picked by machine. Past a cherry orchard, and Marge used to pick a lot of cherries. She'd be the one that would take the ladder and top the tree, so I guess that's why she isn't afraid of heights. There's even some grass seed grown in this fertile land of Grand Island. And then a peach orchard. We used to go here and pick peaches. You pick at so much a pound or a bucket full and take them home and can them. And it seems like there's not as many peaches as there used to be, but there's still some. Spent lots of time over here. They'd drive over here every day and pick beans for hire. They would get paid so much. It looks like there's a lot of acres of sweet corn here, and this is picked by machine and trucked to a cannery where it's either frozen or canned.
Welcome to Dayton. Joel Palmer House left its signal. The historic marker ahead. The Joel Palmer House, that's what they call it. Well, there it is. That beastly little shed.
We've reached the park where Marge and her sisters used to spend a lot of time. They would come to the park and the kids would have to get out and play while their mom and grandma ran around town doing other things. And they were all tired and hungry, but they couldn't do anything but just stay in this park. And so they were anxious to go, and she doesn't to this day have that good a feeling about the park. At the time when Marge and her sister used to get stranded in this park, there was no playground equipment. The only thing that was here at that time was the old historical blockhouse, and it wasn't locked at that time. They could go inside it and play. Marge really hasn't been back to this park since the late 1950s. She checks out the businesses across the street from the park, and they've all changed from what she knew. There are some big and pretty trees still in the park, but the main thing that we were interested in is the blockhouse. Palmer set this area aside, hoping to build a courthouse here, so they call it Courthouse Square. The courthouse never happened because this didn't become the county seat, but it was turned into a park then when the courthouse thing didn't work. There are a few reminders of World War II here. This big gun is one of them, and then the thing we come to see, the old Indian fighting blockhouse. I'll bet if an opposing military were to come up toward this house, they'd see puffs of black powder smoke coming out each of these little shooting ports. This fort has been repaired as forts rot out. They put new ones in, and so they've preserved it.
This building was a military blockhouse built at the Grand Round Agency by Willamette Valley settlers in 1856. U.S. troops were sent to the station the same year, and it was named Fort Yamhill. Among the famous Army officers stationed at this fort were Sheridan, Wheeler, A.J. Smith, D.A. Russell, and Hazen. By permission of the U.S. government, Fort Yamhill was moved from Grand Round Agency to... By permission of the U.S. government, Fort Yamhill was moved from Grand Round Agency to Dayton in 1911 through efforts of John G. Lewis, a patriotic citizen. The structure was rebuilt on this spot as a memorial to General Joel Palmer, a pioneer of Oregon, Superintendent of Indian Affairs, founder of Dayton, and donor of this park.
Looks like the door on the old fort is locked, but we can peek through between the bars. And there's the shooting ports. Shooting ports all the way around it. Another secure door up above. There's a right nice size Douglas fir growing in the park, reaching skyward.
A memorial to Joel Palmer, Oregon pioneer, 1810 to 1881. Palmer came to Oregon from Indiana in 1845 and helped forge the Barlow Road around Mount Hood. He was Superintendent of Indian Affairs in Oregon from 1853 to 1856, known as General Joel Palmer. He established the Western Oregon reservations and led the way for removal of the tribes, which kept tribes safe from settler attacks. Palmer was forced from that office, accused of favoring native interests over those of immigrant settlers. The blockhouse was neglected until John G. Lewis of Dayton arranged in 1911 to acquire it from the U.S. government. It was moved to Dayton's Courthouse Square Park as a memorial to Joel Palmer. Its form is different from the usual blockhouse, which had upper walls parallel to those below. Here, the upper block is the same size of the lower, but turned on a true diagonal. This design allows for rifles to be fired from all 8 sides every 45 degrees instead of 4 sides every 90 degrees. The founders, and anticipating town square, the founders hoped that Dayton would become the county seat of Yamhill County and planned that a courthouse would rise on this block. When the courthouse did not come, the block became the town square with a bandstand, fountain, war memorial, and a historic blockhouse.
What's the next one?
Many years of service. The blockhouse served from 1856 to 1866 at Fort Yamhill, a U.S. Army post about 30 miles west of Dayton. The fort was a buffer at the western edge of the Grand Round Indian Reservation, where many Western Oregon natives were forcibly relocated after the wars of 1851 to 1856. When the fort was abandoned, the blockhouse was moved to Old Grand Round and used as a jail and storage building by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. This pioneer park and blockhouse honor General Joel Palmer, Superintendent of Indian Affairs for the Oregon Territory from 1853 to 18 1957. Appointed by President Franklin Pierce Frontiersman, author, legislator, and friend of the Indian. His journal Travels Over the Rocky Mountains, published in 1847, was used as a guide by the immigrants to Oregon. This pioneer trader dedicated this publication to the pioneers of the West and their descendants, the bone and muscle of the community, who improve and enrich the country in peace and protect and defend it in war. In his words, this memorial is presented to the town of Dayton by Omer Palmer and dedicated by Thomas McCall, Governor of Oregon, this 25th day of July, 1971.
Now we'll go check out the new playground equipment. It's for kids of all ages, and Marge is wishing they'd have had this when she used to get stranded here. They could entertain themselves a lot better with this equipment. The first thing I'm going to do is try out this slide. I never seen anything like that when I was a kid, but with that sun shining on it, it's probably going to be plenty hot, but still, I need to try one out, so I'm going to try. It felt like it was hot enough to fry an egg on, but still, that's a really neat slide, and I'll have to admit that it was fun.
There, how was that?
It was kind of hot.
Since we're being kids today, Marge looked across the street and found an ice cream shop. And so, of course, she had to go get some ice cream. And this is top quality, the very best ice cream.
Ice cream is melting, I got you. There you go. Yours is Huckleberry.
What took you so long?
Because I was talking to her and she subscribed to your channel. It's caramel.
How is it?
It's good. And how's yours?
Good. What's the name of the place you got it? What was the name of the place where you got it?
It was right across the street from the playground. I don't remember. Kids just go back and forth with it, you know, like that.
Yeah.
See? Like that. There.
No. From that side.
Here. It's fixed. 4 people can do it. Wait just a second.
It was on. I don't know. Close it and open it again. Okay, let's go.
Okay, wait a second. There, it's on record. Here we go.
Okay, that's good enough.
Let's see. Oh, look at this one. Okay, why I said that, it's got a spatial seat. Here, I'm gonna set my purse down.
Marge especially enjoyed the swing. I'd like to never got her out of it. She just loves a nice swing, and this is a very good one. Here, pick up a couple chestnuts and let's look at them.
Those are prickly pear things. Look at those.
We found some little nuts on the ground. They resembled a chestnut somewhat, but I'm not sure what they were. At least we weren't sure enough.
It's a
to
Baptist
eat.
church, 1886.
Oh. It was established in 1886, the church.
That's what it said.
Now we'll head home, and it was really neat going to the old fort and the town square.
Swim.
Yeah.